Righto guys, welcome back. Today's episode is a little bit more on the serious note compared to our other ones. I made a promise to you guys when I started this channel that I was going to go through the highs and the lows. And this one unfortunately is a bit of a low one, but there is a lesson to learn at the end of this. And I want you to take away a couple of key actions, which I'll get to in a moment. But before I get to that, you'll need to understand a little bit of context to what happened. So, as those that have watched the channel enough, you'll know that we have a couple of dogs that come out with us when we do our traveling and adventures and we go out on trips and stuff like that. They are Theo, who's an 8-year-old German Shepherd, and we got Ursi, who is the 2-year-old Spoodle. Now, both dogs are extremely healthy and have no medical conditions or prior medical conditions at the point of doing this video. So the problem that we had is the 8-year-old Shepherd, so Theo, managed to pick up a condition called GDV, Gastric Dilatation-Volvulus, which is essentially where the stomach extends, it twists on itself, and as a result, both entrance and exit of the stomach is closed, and it fills up with gas, and ultimately, if you do not act on it, it's life-threatening and your pet will pass away. It's more common in larger dogs, so I'm speculating here, but I'd say anything over kind of the 30 kilo mark. So Theo, I now know, when he went in and got weighed, he was sitting at 47 kilos, so he's a big boy. If you've got a large dog, this video is for you. Please take note here. I've got a couple of actions here which could save your best friend's life, and I need to get them through because I don't want you guys to be in the position that we were in a couple of weeks ago. So I thought we'd share this experience with you guys and bring you along with the journey. You're going to see the video content slow down a little bit while we go through the recovery. We've had to change our plans over the next kind of few months to accommodate what's happened. So yeah, I thought I'd just give you a quick spin on what's happening here, and I'll push this video in front of the queue just to explain why things have slowed down and why our content might change again a little bit. And I hope you guys can respect that, and we'll continue to deliver the content where we can. So as I mentioned, Theo got GDV, or more commonly known as bloat. So naturally, it was a Friday night, 6 p.m. It's after hours. Our normal vet was not open, so we had to call a 24-hour vet. So my first action point for you guys, when I go through this, I want you to pause the video and I want you to do this right now. So I want you to open up your phone. I want you to open up a new note. I want you to label it emergency pet contact. Right? I want you to pin this note in your phone so it's always accessible up the top. And I want you now to put in your normal vet's name, so the name of the business, and I want you to put their phone number in. I also want you to Google a 24-hour vet near you and put their name and contact number down as well. This is super critical because you need to know the vet before you need to actually use them. All right, it sounds silly. You need to know where your nearest 24-hour vet is, how far away it is from your house, because they will ask you when your estimated arrival time is, and you need to know that before you call them. So stop the video now, please open up a new note, label it emergency pet contact, pin that note, and put those 2 key pieces of information in there. You need to know who you're calling before you need to use it, right? It's the same as 000. You wouldn't Google how to, emergency services. You know the number. Do the same with your pets. Put their contact details for their life-saving surgeries and their life-saving information. It hasn't cost you anything yet, and it shouldn't matter the cost regardless, but a phone call costs you nothing, and it takes you 2 minutes to have that information readily available in the event you ever need to use it, right? I'll harp on about that for as long as you need, because that is the key to saving your pet's life in a life-threatening situation like that. Okay, rant over, pause the video, do that right now. Okay, so now you've got your pet's normal vet, their contact number, and a 24-hour vet with their contact number saved in your phone, tucked away for hopefully never to use it, but it is there in the event that you do need it. What are we looking for in GDV? What are the symptoms? Guys, that's a friggin' great question. So GDV or bloat has a couple of key symptoms that you need to be looking out for. And we got these with Theo. And again, we kind of had a hunch early on that we knew what we were dealing with, and I just hoped that it wasn't, but ultimately it was. So don't ignore these symptoms either, and what you're looking for is an excessive amount of drooling. You're looking for discomfort and unsettling and not resting. You're looking for, the big one that we got was the dry reaching. So trying to vomit without anything coming up. No bile, no fluid, no nothing, right? He was just trying to throw up, but he couldn't get anything up. So those were the kind of three main symptoms we got from Theo. There are a couple of more, which the vet might walk you through if you are in that event, the unfortunate event where you need to call them because you think your dog's got GDV. So the other ones that the vet talked us through were just checking his stomach to see, is it swollen, is it sensitive to touch, stuff like that. That was probably the main one because we had all the other symptoms at that point in time. And this is where the first point that I said at the beginning of the video comes in about knowing your dog. We had a gut feeling very quickly that something was not right with Theo, and it was purely the drooling, the restlessness, the pacing, the throw, like the attempt of throwing up. He would lay down and get back up immediately. Like we're talking, he was extremely uncomfortable at that point in time. And you know pretty quick when they give you that look, you know that something's wrong. At that point in time, that's when you call your vet, right? Don't wait any longer. If you think something's not right, pick up the friggin' phone and give them a call. There is no reason why you shouldn't. It doesn't cost you anything to get the advice. If they tell you to bring your dog in, bring your dog in, right? For those of you that don't have insurance, it hurts, it's expensive. That was us. I'll get to that at the end of the video if you want to know how much that was, and make sure you're sitting down when I let you know. Otherwise, now might be a good time to have a look at pet insurance. So I hear the questions already coming to people's mind about what causes GDV? How does it start? Like, is it something they pick up? Is it, what are the causes of GDV? This is where this condition gets really scary, right? As far as my research goes, right, I can't find any evidence to suggest what a root cause for this is, which is scary because it can happen at any time to any pet and you've got to be there ready to go. What I did find when I was doing some research for this video was there are a couple of activities that can maybe set GDV in motion. So I want to touch on those so as you guys are educated when it comes to feeding time for your dogs in particular, because that's where a lot of what my research that I did landed was feeding your dog, how many times to feed them a day, letting them drink, letting them exercise, that kind of stuff around feeding all apparently plays into can that trigger an onset of GDV. So what I want to highlight here is that any form of exercise, 30 minutes either side of eating, large volumes of water. So if your dog has a really large drink around the same time as eating, large meals. So if you're feeding your dog once a day and it's a massive meal, then they go and have a massive drink and then do some running. That can increase the risk and chances of GDV kicking in. Things like that, right? So we've been, again, super conscious that this was a potential problem for Theo as a pup, and we've done it with all our dogs. We split the food up and we do it a morning and a dinner feed. So they get 2 meals a day. They're like 4 cups of biscuits for him a day, which is huge. He gets 2 in the morning, 2 at night. We used to soak the biscuits in water and make them soft and mushy. He then found out very quickly that biscuits are meant to be crunchy and he didn't like it. So he turned his nose up at that pretty quick. But what that does is reduces the fluid intake when he eats dry biscuit. It reduces that fluid absorption through his stomach and the need to have such a large drink after eating. It's a little tip that it's a little tip that the breeder told us when we picked him up, is to soak his biscuits in water, because as puppies, they just inhale their food really quick. You can get slow bowls and stuff, but generally speaking, they inhale their food. So it was just a preventative that we did as a pup, where we soaked his biscuits in water, so as they didn't take that the stomach juice, the goodness in the stomach out of there in a massive drink and potentially trigger this GDV condition. So that's one little tip. The second one was exercise before and after food. So it's the same as when you eat and you go swimming, or you eat and you exercise and stuff like that, right? We feel it when we've done some form of physical activity too close to food. It's the same with your pets. Don't let them, run around before or after dinner. They need to settle. They need to start digesting their food. That's point number 2. And the third one I kind of mentioned with the eating is, so a large drink can also increase this risk if it's combined with, say, eating and or exercise as well. Just be conscious of your dog's behavior when they're eating and drinking and exercising and stuff like that, all right? So what happened to Theo? So Theo he exhibited signs of GDV on the Friday night. We then wasted no time at all. Once we knew what was happening, we called the vet. They said, look, you need to bring him in. How far away are you? And I was like, 30 minutes. We're half an hour away. So I loaded him into the Ranger. Funny story on that. We got the car back on the same night that this happened. So I picked the car up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. This happened at 6. So I only just got the Ranger back. Timing couldn't have been more perfect, but it's also a little bit scary. So anyway, Friday night, put the dog in the car and I raced down to my 24-hour vet, which was Waves out in Success, Jandakot area in WA. The team there, for anyone wondering for a 24-hour vet, the team there are absolutely fantastic. They did a phenomenal job. Their customer service is next to none. They were absolutely phenomenal. Would highly recommend them. If they are your closest vet, you are in very good hands with those guys, all right? That's all I'll say. So we rushed him into the 24-hour vet there at Waves, and the team met me at the doorway as I was getting Theo out the car. They knew that we were coming because we called ahead. As we walked through the door, the lady took Theo's lead, or connected her lead up. I can't even remember now, it all happened so quick. She basically took him straight through and put him immediately on an IV drip to keep his fluids up and stop his body from going into shock, or at least assist with it. They then went and did an ultrasound immediately as well, just to see, is there issues with the stomach? Can they hear anything, or can they see anything on an ultrasound that would indicate that, yeah, he's got GDV? Within probably 5 minutes of him going through that, 5 to 10 minutes of him going through those doors, the vet came back out and she said, look, the ultrasound is inconclusive. We want to do an x-ray. So we want to do an emergency x-ray right now. Can we go ahead and do that? I was like, absolutely, do what you need to do to save my dog's life. So they got him in and did an x-ray. I went into one of the examination rooms and they gave me some information about what GDV was. So naturally, while I'm there, I'm starting to Google it. I realize again how severe this condition is for Theo. And that realization starts to kick in that, holy shit, my best friend has a twisted stomach at the moment. So she came out and said it's not good. His stomach is twisted. He needs surgery. And handed me a form which had a do not resuscitate on one side and all of the stuff about high risk surgery. It's going to cost this many dollars. In the event that he passes under the knife, can we use, his name and everything else essentially for science, for all that kind of stuff. So a really hard-hitting conversation to have, but we initialed and signed all of it, and away the team went. So he went under the knife on the Friday night. So we got him there about 7 o'clock, and at that point, once they knew the stomach was twisted and he needed to have the corrective surgery, which the vet sat me down with the sheet of paper that they handed me. So I had a do not resuscitate on one side, and it was explained to me that should Theo go through a cardiac arrest on the table, the likelihood of him leaving the vet after that has occurred is around the 10% mark. That's him actually leaving in the event he has a cardiac arrest on the table. What I then asked, which I already knew the answer to, was, what would his quality of life be like after? And that was when I signed the do not resuscitate. The other side of that page was all of the financials for how much the surgery was going to cost, how much the emergency aftercare, or they're doing it in like blocks of 12 hours of emergency care. I think it was 6 or 12 hours. How much a block of emergency post-surgery care is. And then some other stuff there as well. I can't remember. Oh, the deposit. You needed to pay a deposit before they take him in. So I might as well tell you now what that was. So our ballpark figure for Theo to undergo the GDV surgery was anywhere between $8,000 and $12,000 for him. And then I think the post-care or aftercare surgery, emergency care, was $500 to $600. I think it was for 12 hours or something like that. So every block of 12 hours was another $500 or $600. And the kicker was immediately for them to even start was a $4,000 deposit, right? So immediately $4,000, bang, done. And then that's essentially where my night Friday kind of stopped. At that point, there was nothing more that we could do for him. He was in the hands of the vet. We'd paid to get him started. And then we played the waiting game. So that's the worst part of all of this. You don't know if he's going to make it through the night. You don't know if he's going to make it through the surgery and then have a complication. You know, none of that up front, right? And they explain all this to you as well. So you get the full rundown on what's going to happen, and that the 24 hours post-surgery is the most critical part to survival or recovery, is that first 24-hour window after surgery. So we went home. There was nothing more that we could do at that point at the vet. So yeah, we went home and then waited for the vet phone call. So I did get some footage of when I was at the vet on Friday after Theo had gone in for his surgery, once we're all done and dusted, once the deposit was paid. I'll drop that in here now. I was pretty upset at this point, so just bear with me. There was a lot going on. We'd had a very expensive week with some electric work around the house, picking up the car and paying that bill, and then knowing what was coming with Theo when we didn't have pet insurance. It was pretty stressful. So the next few clips of footage is my reaction to kind of what had happened in that scenario, and just me trying to process what was going on. So I'll drop that in here now for you guys just to have a quick look at, all right?
Hell, Theo. What a expensive week. Yeah, man, what a turn for a day. I didn't expect to be flying down this way at whatever time this evening, but I am, and here we are. That was a $4,000 deposit for him to commence surgery. $4,000 deposit. I'm a big spender today. I've spent $7,000 just today. So all the neighbours this weekend as well, they went camping. They left at 3 this afternoon when I picked the car up. And the running joke was, oh, come on, if you get your car back, come out to York for us for the weekend. Yeah, glad I didn't go. I just can't fathom what's just happened in the last 5 hours. Car back, dog, vet, the whole lot. Holy balls, man.
So they got a hold of Talia in the morning and gave her a quick update on what had happened. So essentially, he pulled through the surgery overnight. He was now in emergency care. The surgery was successful. There was a complication, so he did have an issue with his spleen. When his tummy twisted, they couldn't tell if the spleen was inflamed or swollen due to the damage caused by the GDV, or whether or not there was some other factor playing into that, like a tumour or something of that nature on the spleen itself. So they actually pulled the spleen out. So Theo now doesn't have a spleen. So after we got that phone call, I did the Googling to find out, all right, what's the spleen responsible for? What are the implications of, living your life without your spleen? And what I found was the spleen is an organ that you can live without. Its main purpose is, it's basically, the way I understand it, is like a filter to filter out, the bad things in your blood, your bloodstream, and assist your body with your immune system. So what the vet explained to us was that he might be a little bit more susceptible to infection, like bacterial infections, or just when he's sick, he may take a little bit longer than normal to recover because he doesn't have that organ that's assisting his immune system to kind of filter out those bad things in his bloodstream and stuff like that. So all of this was on the first phone call on the Saturday morning. Now we got a proper update from the vet on his condition. It was a full-blown, he's had the operation, he had his spleen removed, we've done this, we've done tests, we're monitoring his red blood cell count, because when the spleen comes out, it can send the dog into shock. and it throws the balance out. You might need a blood transfusion, all that sort of stuff. That was all coming out of the vet as we're still waking up on Saturday morning, right? They were on top of their game, and he was in really, really good hands. Sorry, one thing I missed out on was they didn't want us to visit him on the Saturday because he was anxious. So they did say that he was anxious on the Saturday, which is what I mean by a proper update. Like, he didn't want us to come close while we're doing medical procedures, which is, understandable after what he's just been through. He's taking small bits of food. Like, what does he eat? What does he eat at home? Well, like, he loves chicken. Like, he'll eat chicken. He'll eat kangaroo. Like, any form of meat like that, he'll graciously take it from you. So they took that on board, and they finished that conversation by saying, yeah, please don't come and see him until he gets discharged because he's quite anxious, and we just need him to rest at the moment. So we weren't able to see him on the weekend, which was a bummer, and I went into full distraction mode and tried not to think about it by doing a whole bunch of stuff around the house. Saturday evening, we got another phone call with a quick update on how he was doing. This news was a lot better. He'd perked up a lot. He was trying to move around kind of in his cage a little bit and get a bit comfortable. He'd been to the toilet. He was starting to eat the chicken because we were starting to feed him chicken now. So he was starting to perk up a lot. And again, this is what I mean by an actual personal bull update about how your pet's going, which I got from the team at Waves. It was a proper update with, this is how he's behaving. This is, he's actually eating the chicken, like he really likes it. He's super gentle, all that kind of personal touch stuff. And it wasn't just a blanket, yeah, look, he's fine, he's just sleeping. It was an actual update that meant value to us and that he was in really good hands. So we got that update. They were just going to keep monitoring him overnight, and hopefully by Sunday he should be ready for discharge, is what they told us on the Saturday. We ended up picking him up on the Sunday, and I can drop some footage in here now of what that looks like. We'll cut over to when we picked him up over at the vet.
You're beautiful.
Hey, big puppy. Hey, the mum give your gobies. She give your big eye gobies. Have you been good for the vets? Has you been good? Oh, hey. Painfully. Oh. Come. Hey, buddy.
At least he's nice with you.
Maybe.
Right, a quick doggo update. He's in the car. He's got a soft cone, which is obviously working really well. He cost a fortune, but we are just about ready to look at the shaving on him. He's still got his fentanyl patch on there for pain management. He's got his IV drippy one on the red one there, which can come off soon. But I'm going to leave it on because we paid for it, so effort. It's going to stay on there for a bit longer. What do you reckon, mate? Ready to go home? Is it time to go home? I agree. All right, let's get out of here. So yeah, as you can see, he was pretty keen to get home and start his whole recovery process. So I've got to get the stitches out, and he can't eat I say solid food. He can't eat hard food. He's got to eat soft, wet food for now, for the first, I think they said 5 days, but I'm going to run it for a couple of weeks. They don't want any sort of bones or any sort of harsh food to go through his stomach. So I've been running the Hills indigestive kind of special vet wet food cans. They're extremely expensive. They're about $85 for 12 cans at the moment from Pet Barn. I'm on my second or third pack of those. I think it's the second pack of 12 I'm on for those. But I've also been making a blend of boiled chicken breast and rice. I've been using the boiled chicken water to make the rice. It's, I like to think it's a bit more flavoursome for them. So just blending the chicken, the rice, and a full can per meal, and blending all that together. He is absolutely hoovering that every meal. It's recommended to continue with 2 meals a day, split up his full food count into 2 meals at beginning and end of day, which is a no-brainer for us. So that's where we're at now for him. That's up to about the 2-week mark. He still cannot do any exercise or anything extraneous for at least another couple of weeks. So about 4 weeks is the recovery time. I don't know how you guys go, but if you've ever had a dog, even when they get neutered or sterilized, having a dog with a cone is the worst thing ever. Having a big dog with no sense of personal space is a freaking nightmare. I am glad, as you would have seen in the footage, I'm glad that is a soft cone now and it's not the super hard plastic with the sharp edges. He's at home at the moment. We're at the 2-week mark for recovery. We've got another 2 weeks to go before we can start to get him back into like walks and exercise and toys. He is extremely pissed off that I took all of his toys away, and I'll drop a quick picture in here now of what I took today because it was quite funny. He saw the toys and he just sat and he looked at them. So he's feeling the pinch. He's bored. I'll drop another video in here now. He never drinks this delicately, right? This is the most delicate I have ever seen Theo take a drink. Go and have a look at this. So yeah, as you can see, he was pretty out of it. I've got another little footage here that I'll drop in about that this was the night that he got home. He finally got comfortable. We put his big bed in the theatre room while we started watching the movie that we set off to watch on the Friday when all of this went to shit. And that, for those playing at home, that was the first Lord of the Rings movie. Yeah, I'm over 30 years old and I haven't seen the Lord of the Rings movies. I have now, but I hadn't then. So we were watching the Lord of the Rings when all of this unfolded, so I've got a bit of resentment for that trilogy now. Sorry, Lord of the Rings. But yeah, we watched the video and also watched the movie in the theatre room. And I'll pop that footage in here now of him just being completely zoned out. I can see it in my head now, but I'll show you guys what he looked like when he got home.
I present to you the latest species of German Shepherd. It's called the frilled neck German Shepherd. Evidence of one in its natural habitat.
Doped up.
He is high as a kite. But it's time to go to bed.
The final piece of information that I want to give you out of this video is how much did it all cost? Would we do it again? Is pet insurance really worth it? So let me break that down for you. So how much did it cost? So you heard the deposit cost me $4,000 to get Theo in on Friday night. We then had close to $8,000 when we picked him up. So the surgery was a $12,000 adventure. I say that because you do anything for your animals, which feeds me into the next thing. Would we do it again? Absolutely. I would do that any day of the week again for my best friend. It's a no-brainer for me, guys. It's just something you have to do. You can't just let them be in pain. You've got to do something if you're capable of doing that, right? Which then leads me into my final point, pet insurance. Is it worth it? I crunched some numbers, right? So Theo's 8 now. If we had got pet insurance out when he was a pup for 8 years at... I did the math. Give me a sec while I just run the numbers again. I'll come back. Alrighty, sorry. I've rerun those numbers. So is pet insurance worth it? Now, what I've just worked out is Theo is 8 years old, right? For pet insurance to have been worth it in my particular scenario for this application only, at 8 years, I would need to have been paying less than $125 a month for pet insurance over his life up until the point now. Have I been doing that? No, because I haven't been paying pet insurance. But I did have a rainy day fund, which is now completely exhausted. That was what it was there for, so I'm not disappointed that it was used. You got to have that trade-off, guys, between is it worth getting pet insurance and paying $100 a month or whatever you can get for your pet. The big ones cost you more. So his age, all of that stuff comes into play. He's got to be below 9 years of age to be eligible for a policy. You've got all this stuff weighing in now. I think we're looking at about $120, $150 a month for him for his own pet insurance at the moment. We've got to weigh that up because he is getting on now. He's going to have more complications now in the latter part of his life. The whole hip dysplasia, the second attempt at bloat, all of that stuff is a very real possibility now. So much so we're starting to look at options to cover all of our pets. So we've got Theo, we've got Ursi as the spoodle. We've actually got 2 cats at home as well. I can't tell you if the policy is worth it for yourself, but I would really encourage you go and check out a couple of pet insurance places. So the ones that we looked at were RAC Pet Insurance, RSPCA Pet Insurance, which were actually quite expensive in comparison to others. The one that we're toying up whether or not to go down, which we actually asked the vet when we were there, what is the best value pet insurance and the ones that you have the least amount of kind of drama with when you deal with them as a vet. And the vet that we were talking to recommended a company called Trupanion. Now, we've done a multi-pet quote on their system, and it came in significantly cheaper than the RSPCA. I think it was half price because we thought that we were paying monthly on RSPCA, but it was fortnightly, and it matched the monthly price of Trupanion. So we haven't gone down that path yet, but we're toying the idea of pet insurance for all four. But it's something that I want you guys to do your own research on in terms of pet insurance. Can you afford, financially, to fund an event like that if it were to happen to you, your family, your pets and stuff like that? Do you have private health for yourself? If you do, it's kind of like a private health for your pet, right? If you can afford it, that's maybe an avenue you might want to go and look at so you don't get the bill shock that I'm about to go through now with what happened to us. So our bill at the vet was about 12 grand. 12 grand for a full weekend's worth of medical treatment, 2 surgeries being the GDV and the spleen removal. Again, I cannot fault Waves with their professionalism and the handover and discharge of Theo, including the invoice and stuff like that. I would have been super pissed if my invoice just had a single line item that said dog surgery, 12 grand. Right? That was not the case with Waves. I had a 2-page invoice with an itemized breakdown of absolutely everything that they did. I'm talking the emergency x-ray, the ultrasound, the prep for theatre, the theatre fee, the consumables used within theatre, all of the 5 sponge pat, times 3, the spleen removal, the GDV surgery, the anesthesia, all of that stuff was broken down line item by line item over 2 pages to come to my grand total of 12 grand. The emergency care line items had the named vet responsible for Theo during that window. It was itemized in date, time, order 2. Cannot fault those guys for their level of detail when it came to invoicing, and I also cannot fault them for the report provided on discharge too. Information that was provided to us, we had a 5 or 6 page report on Theo's condition, what he had, what he went through, what the recovery looks like, what to do with his fentanyl patch, what to do with his diet and food, what to do with his exercise. All of that stuff was contained within a 5 or 6 page report, which also included a 1.5 pages worth of his results. So all the tests that they did, their date and time stamp on them, what the test was, what the expected range was, what his range was, all of that was produced in a nice tidy report at the end. So we got about 7 pages worth of information upon leaving the vet. As I said, if you have Waves as your 24-hour vet near you, you are in good hands. Right? I would take him back there in a heartbeat, and I hope that we never have to go through that process again. All right, that's enough rambling from me, guys. Again, you've got your action points out of this video. You now have a note in your phone with your vets, your primary vet's contact details, and you also have your 24-hour vet now in your phone, easily accessible in the event you ever need to call them because your pet's going through an emergency. It doesn't cost you anything to call them. Please, if you think something's wrong, call the vet. All right, rant over. That's it from me in this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed the content that was here. Sorry it was a bit dark in this episode. As I said, I wanted to bring you guys the highs and the lows that we go through in this journey. Unfortunately, that was one for us, but it had a positive outcome, so I'm still quite stoked with how things are at the moment. It could have been a lot worse than what it was, and for that I am truly grateful. Guys, if you haven't already and you did find any value in this one, please smash that like and subscribe button. We've nearly hit the 250 subs. I'd love to keep that momentum going, and as always, I will see you in the next video. Or Gastric Dilatation-Volvulus. Sorry, Gastric Dilatation... Theo picked up GDV, which is